Hello and welcome to This Is Austin. I'm about to flex all over you because I have a 3080.
Are you mining right now? Are you a millionaire, a Bitcoin millionaire?
I will be in about 9 years when I recoup my investment. So what we have here today is the new Razer Blade 15. I think their naming structure has gotten really bad with these.
The new advanced.
It's the new
2021
advanced
edition.
Yeah, here's
Go
what you
to
need to know.
Razer.com, build the expensive one. This is it.
Yeah.
That one.
So this is a 3080 model of the Razer Blade 15. It just came out.
Clearly, it is difficult to get your hands on anything RTX 30 series right now. But the fact is, Razer is now selling this model. I will preface this video by saying I have not touched it. Okay, now I've touched it. This is all a Matt production. So Matt, fill me in. What do I need to know about the Blade 15? I've used these in the past. We've done videos on them in the past. What's new about this model? Is it just a graphics card?
Not just a graphics card, but that is by far the biggest upgrade.
Same design, right?
It's a Razer product. It's gonna be for like on the surface almost identical to any other Razer product. It is slightly thinner.
So I think one of the things that Razer has always done really well with their gaming laptops is delivering a very sort of MacBook-like form factor, right? And I think there's a lot of reasons for this. And we've talked about this in previous videos. Razer goes through a lot of time and expense to basically make these chassis out of a single billet of aluminum, just like Apple does, do the anodization finish, which is very expensive. It's a big reason why Razer laptops typically cost more, because just making this metal chassis is, I don't know the actual price, but I will guarantee you is a lot more expensive than pretty much any other company who's just, putting a couple of components together and calling it a day.
And I have loved that. I
do
mean,
too. Yeah.
I've said that MacBooks are my favorite laptops. That's no secret. My favorite Windows laptops have always been Razers. I was a big fan of the Razer Blade Stealth. I switched over that for a long time.
Same.
This, feels good. Woo! But this is also the first time where I think that process in this chassis doesn't work. I had trouble using this as a laptop. And that like this pains me because again, this is like about as powerful as a laptop as you can possibly get right now. Okay. And so it's like awesome, like I can do everything. I'm gonna spoil the whole thing here and say I think that a 3080 might actually be too powerful. Bear with me guys. I think a 3080 is too powerful for a laptop in this form factor because this thing got so hot that it was actually painful for me to use it on my lap.
So this is a thing, right? Gaming laptops are always a little bit of an odd thing for people to buy because generally speaking, you're spending a premium, although I will say maybe not at the moment, given how expensive it is to build yourself a desktop. But traditionally, you pay more money for the portability. You're usually giving up some performance, but in return, you're getting something that you can actually pick up, take with you, toss in your backpack, game on the go. You get 8 hours or whatever, I don't know the number on this, but you'll get your hours of regular battery life. But as soon as you start gaming, you go from pulling 5, 10 watts, 15 watts, up to 100, 120 watts plus, and any battery, I don't care what kind of gaming laptop you have. You can have a 100 watt maximum, which is the largest that you can actually get on a plane with, right? No laptop, as far as I know, really has a larger battery than that. And even a 100 watt hour battery is not gonna last more than an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if you're not playing a super taxing game, right? So the trade-off is always there. But you're saying it's less about the battery life, it's more about the actual thermals of the laptop?
So one thing I have left on here specifically, you notice these attractive smudges.
Yeah, where your palms live? Yeah, okay.
That's from an hour and a half of use. That is sweat.
You could... Got him! Okay, Matt, fine. You got me to touch your sweaty laptop. Now you're gonna actually clean it off. That's not a point to the video. You're just being a dick right now, man.
Look, I know that a 3080 is gonna get hot. Like, yeah. I'm not saying it shouldn't get hot. I was playing Warcraft. That's my game of choice. Recently.
Which is not an incredibly demanding game.
And it looked great. It ran great. But again, after about 45 minutes of playing with this, I had like a laptop, like couch cushion thing. Okay. Which is like actually a flat surface. Yeah. It does give some room for ventilation, but I could no longer rest my hands on this because it was so uncomfortable.
That's super interesting. Now, we've not taken apart this laptop, and again, I have not touched it before we hit the record button for this video. Traditionally, if you take a look at like a thermal camera or something, A laptop will basically pull air in from the sides and it will exhaust it out the top, right? Typically the bottom area, which is where your hands are touching primarily, is usually battery, right? It's not typically,
so there's your exhaust right there.
I'm curious though, your performance. So this is at a production model?
This is full retail model.
Okay,
yes.
So I'm curious as far as how a laptop like this is going to perform, because one of the things that if you go to Razer.com and you build, well, actually pretty much any of their blades, but specifically with this model, they only really ever give you one CPU option, which in this case, it's a 10875H. 8-core, totally fine.
Is the case for this? I mean, we were just talking about this prior to filming. I was when I was looking up all the different SKUs, I was personally overwhelmed with how many options there are. But the difference between those options is so minimal because most of them are 1 terabyte, 32 gigabyte of RAM configurations, where really the only difference is the screen and the GPU.
But if we slide this off to the side for 1 second, and I bring in the laptop that I've been using recently, which is of course the Asus Zephyrus G14. Now this is a laptop which is lower class, right? So this is $1,500. Instead of having a Core i7 has a Ryzen 9 processor, which is actually a more power efficient chip. It's closer to a 35 watt TDP as opposed to 45 on that. But it also has an RTX 3060 instead of 3080, which I know you will certainly have more performance than me. But the difference here is that this is, well, yes, slightly thicker, but it has some pretty trick stuff. Like when you actually pick it up, it has the
extra
ergo
cooling,
lift.
yeah.
Okay, so we are currently running through 3D Mark Time Spy, a very graphically demanding benchmark. We'll get the score in a second, but my first question is, how hot is it really? Woo! Woo! That is very warm.
And this is, like I was saying, not even close to what I was feeling.
Wow, that's actually hot.
Yeah, like up here is, so I was feeling like this.
Yeah.
Here.
This benchmark has been running, to be fair, for like 5 minutes maybe right now. We ran a few CPU things before that. Okay, 100% buy it, that it is very warm. Look, gaming laptops get hot, but that's a bit much.
And all right, here, I don't want to make it sound like I'm just completely trashing this laptop, because it's an amazing laptop. It really is. But it comes down to, what are you trading off for to get a 3080 in here? And first things first is, you always got the big ass brick here, which is also hot. After using this for an hour and a half, I didn't want to use this as a laptop. Yeah. Like, it's one thing to be like, I'm going to game on this all the time, and I can always have it on a desk, and I can always have a mouse, I can always have a keyboard. But when, again, when we're talking about a laptop, a portable device, this does not scream portable to me. So let's talk about the benchmark scores. So let me preface everything. I stand by what I said in the last video. If you want to buy desktop components, don't. Buy a laptop and dock it. It's hard to recommend this one even with a 3080. Please take it away. Okay,
so time spy of 8600. The 3060 in this system got 7290. Right? That is a fairly small difference going from a 3060 to a 3080. It's an especially small difference considering that this laptop costs almost double the G14, and to sort of put a little finer point on it, it's a bigger laptop, right? The smaller system you would expect to throttle more. Yep. On top of all of that, this Ryzen 9 has absolutely wiped the floor with that when you look at the CPU scores on Cinebench, right? Single core, multi-core, doesn't matter. The Ryzen has absolutely crushed it. Grain of salt alert. We've not had more time with this. We've just done a benchmark live here, so it is what it is. Looking through here, I mean, you see the CPU throttles down 2.8 gigahertz, but that GPU, look at that. The GPU is like doing okay, like 12, 13, 14, but as the later we get into the run, I mean, it really clocks down to what I assume is whatever the TDP max is. If you want to go buy a Razer Blade, by all means, go ahead. I don't think the 3080 makes sense. The sacrifice you have to make, save your money and get a 3070. Save your money and get a 3060, and you're going to save several $100s and probably not lose that much performance because you're limited by the thermal constraints of the system more so than the actual silicon inside.
And I do think it makes a lot more sense to do like a 3060 or even a 3070 in this laptop, because the Blade is still a really good chassis where everything is in. One thing that I really like about it, it's got a full-size SD card slot on the side here. It's got Thunderbolt. It's got 3 USB-A's. It's got a full-size HDMI. Yeah. It has a webcam, which is super important.
G14 doesn't.
Correct. So and I mean, I don't think the webcam is anything crazy, but it's still pretty decent.
It exists and also gives you Windows Hello support,
yes.
which is nice.
Again, I think it's just too much power for a chassis like this.
I think they've made a couple of key mistakes here. First and foremost, Intel is not the way to go in laptop CPUs in 2021. The Ryzen chip is more powerful, more power efficient, quieter, cooler, etc., etc. It checks all the boxes, right? That is a better CPU in this system. Sure, the Optimus solution, it's probably gonna be a little bit better at jumping back and forth between dedicated graphics and stuff. Yeah, but guess what? This does as well, and it has better integrated graphics to boot. Putting a 3080 in a laptop like this is great to get that number on the box, but you're paying several $100s more compared to the 3070.
Yeah, I mean,
it's $200 or $300 more, and you're not getting $200 or $300 more performance, right?
No.
You're simply limited by the thermal constraints of the laptop. I think, while yes, you're paying a premium for the design and everything like that, and the screen is really, really excellent, it's a tough sell, right? If you get one of the mid-range blades, it's probably gonna be a better overall package. But for me, as someone who admittedly does prefer a slightly smaller laptop, this G14, or if you want 15-inch, the G15, which is just a slightly larger version of this laptop, has a lot of the same features, seems like a cheaper and more powerful option, at least when you look at the bang for the buck, right?
Right. And so, like, part of it is just, it came down to, for me, I don't want to use this as a daily laptop just because it's the weight, the bulk. This is the first time I didn't love the keyboard. I'm someone who likes the Apple keyboard. I do actually like the Zephyrus keyboard.
Same.
I just hate the way that it looks, but that's vanity.
Fair. It's weird. It's hard to say that the Razer Blade is too big and bulky because that is one of the smallest 15-inch laptops you can get. Right.
Yeah.
Look, man.
It's just when something like that, like that to me is the compromise coming from a 13-inch MacBook Air.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like as big of a jump. I mean, it's not as big of a jump.
Yeah.
But like, again, if we're only going to be getting a small performance jump from this to this, I'm gonna go with that every time.
Yeah. Half the price, better performance in CPU, almost as good in GPU.
This is where I think the chassis just doesn't make sense, and so they did say that it's a little bit thinner. But I mean,
I don't want it to be thinner.
Right,
I want it to be thicker to where it actually can handle the heat. I want it to not feel incredibly warm. Also, I don't know what's going on. To be fair, this one seems to be a little bit odd. The thermal, like it was running some of those benchmarks with the fan quiet. It's been sitting here doing nothing for the last 5 minutes, and the fan is louder than it was when we were benchmarking. So I don't get what.
Yeah, it's just nothing is running.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we'll be fair. This is one of the very first one off the production line.
But it is a real production model.
Yeah. So
at this point, I think it is pretty clear that while the Blade is a well-built and generally speaking good laptop when it comes to gaming PCs, I don't think there's a ton of argument to be going for an Intel laptop right now.
No.
And certainly not one that is this expensive when something like the Zephyrus G14 or G15 exist with better processors, essentially the same if not slightly better performance, and significantly lower price tags. But let us know what you think in the comments below. I'm also going to very kindly ask for you to subscribe to This Is to be always kept up to date with the latest and greatest news about Matt's latest WoW addiction.